So this video is going to be part one of my unlimited recycling shower modification to the Coachmen Beyond. Effectively, we have unlimited hot water. And I'm going to explain kind of what I did with the plumbing and how it all works a little bit. But right now we have it kind of as a prototype. I'm trialing out the filters, and we're going to try what we have installed right now for a little bit and then see how it goes. What we've done so far is reroute the supply side of the pump, and we were doing a leak test, so I just have it tapped off right here for now, because we needed to tap into it on the other side. And this is now the supply feed, and this is this is the supply into the van. This is the supply into the van, and this is gonna be the supply side of the pump that goes into the filtration system that's right here. And then right here we're running some signal wires to a three-way valve that'll be installed right here. This was our first test. We're just doing some testing to see if we have any leaks. So this is effectively without any filters in it, and the UV electricity isn't hooked up yet, but effectively, the water supply is going to come in here, run through a sediment filter, carbon filter, and then all the bacteria should be killed by this UV light. And then it gets sterilized and pushed back into the RV. To the rescue again. My 3D printers are printing brackets to hold the water canisters up. We've tried to have Amazon deliver brackets multiple times, and they keep sending the ones for the bigger canisters. So until we get the right brackets, kind of on hold. So what I did is I printed some mounting brackets that'll hold the canisters to the board, and we can keep going until the right parts come in. So day 1.5, we got our entire filtration system plumbed in, no leaks. We have our valve plumbed in. And I'm still printing a thing to hold this up and make it stable. And we need to solder the valve here, but we've tested it and it works. The valve, this is our fresh line that comes from the fresh tank. And so we've turned on the water pump and pressurized the system, and everything's working fine. When we hook this line up here, we'll solder these together, and then this will switch between gray and fresh. And then we ran some cable here, and I'm going to install an outlet. This ran up through the wall up to the circuit breaker. We put this on a 20 amp circuit or 15 amp circuit, and this is going to be a plug here. And that plug will feed the UV filter here and kill any bacteria in the water. This is technically rated for 6 gallons per minute, but we've got a little less than 3 gallons a minute, so it's going to double kill the bacteria. Anyway, so this is day 2. We've got plenty of pressure in the shower still, even with our actual filters in place. I still don't have brackets from Amazon. So I've got some makeshift brackets I printed holding these canisters up, and I've got another one of these printing to get us in business until the right stuff gets here. It's taken an unreasonable amount of time to get all the plumbing parts. You can see I've got a replacement hub part here for our valve. Basically, when we cut out the previous plumbing, all of this is welded together, so it's got to be replaced completely. But the major change is this pathway. So this is kind of representative of similar to what it'll look like under the RV. There's going to be a gray tank right here, and this will be the normal path it used to take. And the only difference is on the low side of things, there's this extra bushing that allows me to convert this to PEX. And then I'll run this, we already ran the PEX line up under the RV. So this will attach to that and then feed into our water supply as a second source of water. All right, for our prototype, although this stuff will probably end up staying in, but we got the rest of the plumbing for the second water source in. So this goes through the floor. I haven't run it up under the RV. The last piece of plumbing is coming today, but we already ran the line from the back of the vehicle up to the gray tank, and now I've completed this second source and run it through the floor. I'll put some insulation and Sikaflex around that when we're ready. And then over here, starting the work for getting some 110 back here for this fluorescent light so we can kill some bacteria. So I just wrapped up the power, put it right over here in the corner for the UV filter. So I'll have to run the cord around to get it over here, but we have power. So I just finished up a bunch of the gray tank plumbing. Effectively, this whole section here had to be replaced, and so I put in a new set of plumbing here, or new plumbing here, and then this is the new piece right here, and that's going to go off to this PEX tube that runs to the back. So once this all dries, we'll tie all this together, and this PEX tube will be our gray feed. This is my first end-to-end test. So I've been running this about 10-15 minutes. Looks like, yeah, 10 minutes. And pretty much I'm no longer using any hot water out of the hot tank anymore, and this is kind of almost uncomfortably warm. I'm cycling about 3.5-4 gallons at this point. As you can see, I could sit here for indefinitely. I'm not using any fresh water, and we're just cycling and filtering the gray tank. So far it's working pretty good. So I've been going about 15 minutes now. Pretty much not having to use any hot water anymore. It's just cycling warm, and it feels pretty comfortable so far. I have pretty good water pressure. Well, we're going on 15 minutes now, and pretty much am not having to use any hot water now. Have really good water pressure and haven't used any additional water. Water's just cycling. So far this test has been pretty good. This is definitely the longest that hot water has ever come out of this shower faucet at one time. That's maybe my only complaint about my Coachmen, is how little hot water you have. Normally, you only have about 2.5 gallons in the Truma Combi. And I love the unit, but I wish they made a bigger unit. But this pretty much solves that for us. This has been, I could make it much warmer, uncomfortably warm, and still have plenty of hot water left over. So far this is working out pretty nice. Almost universally, everybody's first reaction is, what about fresh water? What about, isn't it gross that you're cycling water and showering in your own dirt? And my response to that is, you know, people took baths for a long time and they lived. We have our water going through to a sediment filter, a carbon filter, and a UV filter. So as it comes back from the gray tank, it all gets filtered each time. And that's basically cleaner than a bath I would take. So we kind of liken it to that. We are giving up having fresh water running through our plumbing in order to facilitate this. And that's already a sacrifice we make. And let me explain why. So if you haven't RV'd a lot, if you're new to RVing, it's possible that you think that all the smell in an RV is going to be from your black tank. And that is not accurate. So what actually happens over time is you put food particles, toothpaste, grime goes down into your gray tank, and gets in your lines, and that starts stinking way more than your black tank over time. So let me explain in the Coachmen Beyond how this works. So in the sink, you basically have a drain right here, and this drain runs all the way around the coach to this side, and then drains down here, and then goes down under the floor into the gray tank. So here's the problem. If I wash, say, my dishes and stuff like that here, and I even if I flush this, it doesn't actually fill up the pipe very well. So you have all these food particles that end up over time getting stuck in this line, and there's no real effectively good way to thoroughly clean those lines out. So over time, it just starts to smell. So we have always in our RVs sacrificed, we do our dishes in a separate bucket. And then we take that water and we put the dirty water from that and from brushing our teeth, we put that in the toilet in the black tank. So we already do this to preserve the smell in our gray tank. We've never had a stinky gray tank because we've gone to great lengths to make sure we only put kind of soapy water in our gray tank. But still, the question is, how do we deal with fresh water? How do we have fresh water? Well, we don't. Effectively, at least as I have it plumbed right now, all of our water will go through the same filtration system, and we are giving up having fresh water in our system, and we're just going to have to use bottled water for fresh water for cooking and for brushing our teeth. That's a small price to pay to be able to take a 25-minute hot shower and not use any of your fresh water out of your tank. But even the fresh water out of our tank still currently runs through these filters. This is all set up right now as a prototype. I'm going to recut this board, surface it, relay out some of these parts. And one of the things I'll do in the final product is put another 3-way valve here that's controlled from the front like this. And what that'll do is for fresh water coming in, it will bypass the filtration system. And you might wonder why I would do that. Well, that's because effectively, if you just ran a gallon or so of fresh water through the plumbing, you're pretty much going to reset to what I would call almost potable water. It would be good enough to, wash dishes and do the rinse part of the dishes with that water from the fresh tank. And then if we ever want to convert back and use, actually drink out of our system, what I can do is suck in 1 cup of bleach for every gallon of water through the winterizing hose, and let that sit for a couple hours and bleach out the system, and then flush the system a few times. And as long as I never turn the recycling system back on, we're back to having fresh water until we use a recycling system again. So because I didn't want to do heavy modifications to the interior, we are basically in a situation where we have to toggle between our recycling system and fresh water. And when we do toggle, if we want to have drinkable water, there's going to be a process to cleanse the plumbing in the Coachmen.